The nut for the x-axis on my milling machine lead screw seemed to have worn out a lot faster than I think it should have. However, being that there's such small cuts taken with these, it could just be a matter that I've used the machine that much that it had to go out. So there it is, and you know, got to make a new one. But when I pull this all apart to get that out, I can't really use my milling machine. So what I figured is I'd get dimensions off this, and I got a piece of plastic ordered, or vinyl, or whatever you'd call it, that is designed for gears, especially you see them a lot on those smaller lathes. And I decided to make the nut for the lead screw out of that. So it's just a matter of once the dimensions were taken off this, is to grab a piece of that material, and this is actually it. And it, showed up in a nice little bar there that needed to get cut down quite a bit, and decided to make the nut out of this plastic. And I don't recall the name of what type of plastic it is, but it is the stuff that you're supposed to be using, that's good for wear and that, and they use on various gearing. So the first thing is just to cut it down to size, and for that I'll be using my my actual horizontal saw, and then it's just a matter, it's a nice soft material compared to some other types of material that I've been using, and it's just a matter of going in and like cutting that little piece off there, and it's all done. In fact, I think I cut both of these on the horizontal bandsaw. In fact, looking back at the video, I'm pretty sure I did. And once that's cut down, then it's a matter of shaping it to size, and that's where it would have been nice to have the milling machine working, but without it, it's just a matter of doing this by hand, and going through and sanding a little bit off on the sander and filing a little bit off and coming back and measuring everything and squaring everything out. So I'd just like to say, with the saw like this, if once you put your teeth into there, if you look down the blade of the saw, what you should be seeing, and you can see it in this video here, that material should mirror itself on the blade. And if it is, then you're cutting pretty damn straight on that material. If the material is actually bent to one side, then you got a bevel in it, or if it's creeping up or creeping down, you're definitely cutting on an angle. But if you see here, that line pretty much goes right through from what it is and mirrors the piece itself, which indicates that that's getting cut pretty much exactly. And from that point, like I say, my milling machine's down because I'm trying to make a nut for it here, and all this has been pretty much sanded by hand to make sure it fits. And of course, just creeping up on the dimensions here, seeing how close it is, going back, getting a little more off. Also, running the square on this in all the dimensions you can think possible to make sure that everything's cut in squares, going off the one side like that, then flipping the material around as well, getting the other side. And eventually I did end up with, a piece of material that was going in there that was just about as good as I think I could ever possibly get by hand. When it's actually fit in there, it's like a nice slip fit on every single side. And I did make it a little bit larger than the original. The original one was sloppy in that hole, but this one, as you can see, going in there, it's a good firm fit on all four sides here. So I think I did do a pretty good job on you know making that as accurate as possible. And once that gets cut out and put into place there, the next thing, there's a couple little screws on the bottom, and they're just snugged up once the lead screw is actually set up, just to maintain where it is. So the next thing here is to actually get a measurement on this piece of plastic to where these holes are. Um, Basically, that it didn't have to be that precise because all these holes are really doing. There's a slot in that nut, and you can go back and tighten it up a little bit if you got a little too much play in the nut or in the lead screw. Nonetheless, get the measurement, take off half of the pin, and that's basically where it's got to go. Once I got it in there, then it's just a matter of getting it prick punched, just so you get it drilled, and then after that point, it's just a matter of drilling it. I did drill the actual center on the lathe, on the four chucks of the lathe. Um, though I'm sure it could have been done this way as well. However, hindsight, I do have that clamp on the back set up, but I'm rethinking how I actually drill stuff on that drill press. So once these are drilled, they get tapped. After the the piece gets the cut in it, then I come back and ream out the front and make it a little longer so that there's no threads in the front, so that the screws only touch in the back. And okay, that watermelon and orange looks pretty good right now, but nonetheless, this point this micrometer has like pins on it to get accurate measurements inside a thread. So just grabbing a measurement inside a thread. At this point, I don't even know what that thread is. I do have a tool showing up that's you put up on the threads and it'll tell me. And of course, it is a metric thread, so that's what I went with. And so on this, it was just when I set up the 4-jaw chuck for the piece, and of course the piece is offset. I used the tailstock, or at least the center of the tailstock on where I punched it to give me the center of where I had to actually drill this thing. And once it was set up, it was time to drill. And this was the first time I ever offset any material in a lathe. So kind of figured it out rather fast, but I was rather impressed with how nice that worked. Though, again, the only reason this is happening is because the milling machine's not running. And again, I could have taken that piece and put it in a vise and taken it over the drill press and drilled it out that way. But I figured I'd give it a shot. And it's kind of hard to tell by the video here, but you can kind of see that the one side's a little offset on the lathe there. Anyways, at this point, my brass showed up, and believe it or not, on that table right there, that's $300 worth of brass. And the one piece standing up there, that's the piece I wanted to buy. And as you can see, it's like perfect size for these nuts. When I ordered it, when you had to ship it and everything on it, I figured, hey, might as well pick up a few other pieces and put it in stock because I'm going to be paying to ship it anyways. So just under $200 for the stuff on the table laying down, and the one piece I bought was like $108 to make these nuts out of. So from there, the plastic one I got in here, just a matter of drilling that out, and then I drilled it out with this larger final bit to get the size to actually thread this. And I did actually buy a tap once I figured out what size it was to do these threads. Don't really want to change my lathe to cut metric. I would not want to do that for a long time. But as you can see, the nut, it travels pretty good on there. So decided to just cut the spacer in this thing, and it's ready to go. So on that, it's now time to make the ones that are going to stay there in there permanently. So on this brass, when I was cutting this brass, I realized how dull my saw blade was getting. It was actually veering off to to the inside towards the actual saw body during the cut. So nonetheless, I was going to make the two. I ended up just making the one, and shortly after I made this one, I went and got a new blade. Like I got the old blade ready to go back to get sharpened, but putting the new blade on there, it once again just cuts perfectly square, or close to perfectly square, and not like that. So the milling machine right now, it's running on that plastic lead screw nut, and quite honestly, I think it's doing a rather good job. I'm not sure how well it'll hold up, under high pressure and that, but just for getting this brass ready, it's working just fine. A lot of the milling machine I did not put back together because I knew it was coming right back apart. So there was no DRO on it or any fancy stuff like that. So now it's just a matter of transferring the holes from the original cast nut onto the brass one I got there, and then I got a center punch here, and it just making them a little deeper. And after that point, it's just a matter of drilling those two smaller ones and threading them, then drilling the larger one, and getting it threaded with that new tap I got, so that it'll work on the lead screw. And getting through the smaller holes, no problem. And just taking it over to the milling machine, that vise is secured down there. Now it's just a matter of going into the center one, and I think I pre-drilled it already. But as I'm going in with this bit, the brass is so soft, it just stops it. So great idea here. Do it on the drill press, and that's what it looks like when parallel goes flying out and catches you. Nonetheless, minor. It's all bandaged up now, and just a matter of getting this piece of brass threaded out here. Um, so when I put this in, I there's something up inside the spindle to set that thing off so much, because this used to run just beautifully true. So just a matter of cleaning that out. Then a matter of taking this piece and getting a piece of sandpaper and just going over it and make sure there's no sharp burrs on it or anything like that. And once that's all done, I had to go back through on the two smaller holes and take a reamer and ream those out, so that the screw, like the thread wouldn't catch to the back one. And there it is, a little bit fatter than the original one. It fits in there perfectly. Lead screw fits in there nice. Everything gets set up, and then there's a couple screws to lock the bottom in. And that's pretty much it. Few lessons learned. And the one on the hand, it was a tough pill to swallow, but figured it out. Won't be doing that in a while.